I've got a friend in Texas who's actually a pretty solid example of how humanism works when humanism works. So at one point in her life, she fell on really hard times and found herself without a home. She was a single mom at the time, so she scraped by for a while there, exhausting her friends' couches, sleeping in her car, staying in shelters, and just otherwise experiencing the hell of American homelessness. Now, eventually, she was fortunate enough to get 2 feet under her at the same time, and with the help of some friends, she got her housing situation sorted out and managed to stabilize her life. And when she was comfortable enough to sit back and reflect on it, she realized that the God that she was raised to believe in did fuck all to help when she was at the bottom of her life. What actually helped were the people around her. And when you realize that nobody's coming to save us but other us's, you also sort of have to confront your ethical obligation to those us's. So she started a nonprofit to help unhoused people in her area, and since then she has dedicated every spare hour of her fucking life to advocating for people who are in the same spot she was in. And she does it from a humanist perspective. She's not out there because God told her to go out there. She's not out there earning saint points that can be redeemed for fun prizes in the afterlife. And this one's important, she's not looking down from on high at anyone. She's a person who knows how a well-meaning, hardworking person can get fucked enough by circumstances to find themselves outdoors. And she treats them with the same dignity that she found so lacking when she went looking for help. The problem is best exemplified in a story that she told me once. At one point, she'd stayed in this shelter that she ended up living close to. And when she stayed there, she could barely get any sleep because the blankets that they gave her were scratchy and uncomfortable and insufficient. So as soon as she had some surplus money, she went and she bought a few really nice, soft, thick blankets and took them to the shelter to donate. And when she explained the donation, the dude who ran the place turned it down. He explained to her that the blankets were scratchy on purpose, you see. He said something to the equivalent of, "We don't want them to get too comfortable, do we?" As though homeless people would choose to remain in shelters indefinitely if only the blankets were too soft. As though their inherent laziness is so monumental that they would eschew having a place of their own that they can control and decorate and feel safe in and invite guests to and settle into if their lives weren't sufficiently belabored by petty and contrived discomforts. Charity is one of Christianity's claims to fame, right? Their religion is all about how you should help the poor and feed the hungry and clothe the naked and all that shit, which, to be clear, Christians routinely ignore. But even when they don't, it's easy to take the religious dictates as burdens rather than obligations. If your help is defined by a shared divinity rather than a shared humanity, it will always tend towards a hierarchy. And hierarchies lead to abuse and neglect and humiliation and scratchy blankets. When you're helping the needy because God commands it, it becomes a thing about you rather than a thing about them. Now, I'm not saying that religious people aren't capable of genuine charity, and I'm not saying that secular charities aren't capable of abusing and neglecting and dehumanizing the people that they help. What I am saying is that secular charities are inherently better in that they have fewer avenues of abuse that they need to choke off. They're less likely to be started or staffed by people who aren't primarily motivated by the end goal of the charity. I mean, if we passed a law tomorrow, right, that completely ended poverty in America, I feel like all the secular charities dedicated to helping poor people would celebrate that and move their efforts to some other societal ill. And I feel like a lot of church-run charities would begrudge the loss of their business model. And I guess religious people can call that speculative or dismiss it as bigotry if they want. But the secular volunteer and the secular donor don't start the race with an ulterior motive. And even they have to admit that much, right? They'll argue on and on that religion inspires charity. And even if that was true, it's not. But even if it was true, it would be a black mark on their motives. Because people in need should be what inspire your charity. And if it takes religion for you to do that bare minimum, that's more of a negative about you than a positive about religion. Speaking of which, our annual Vulgarity for Charity fundraiser is going on now in case you are looking for a way to remind the world of one more thing we don't need a God for.